what's going on? I'm getting this tunnel vision. As I went into that phase, I started to dissociate from my body, and I said, okay, I'm dying. The whole room disappeared, my body disappeared, and I no longer cared. And I felt this warmth, this tremendous warmth that engulfed me. All fear of death left me, and I was left with the most profound peace. I was so content. I said, basically, this is not bad.
Hi, welcome to Enlighten Me. I'm Katie, and this is my brother Adrian, and we have Rod Chelberg here today. And we are so excited to have you and listen to your fascinating near-death experience. So just take it away whenever you're ready.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie and Adrian. Thank you for having me on your show, Enlighten Me. I'm really quite honored. I love to share my experiences with people. Um, People are so afraid of death, and they think that death is real and permanent, and it's not. And the reason I can say that is because I've had a near death experience. So I will tell you about that. In second grade, I had a strep infection in my throat, really bad one. And strep does, it either goes into your heart or it goes into your kidneys and kind of shuts them down. Mine went into my kidneys and shut my kidneys down. So I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, and then it took me a year to recover. So it's a nasty infection. They treated me with penicillin. Penicillin was around for a long time, and they gave me a lot. So in the middle of this 2 week period, it was late at night. My parents were getting ready to leave, and the nurse comes in for the shot in the butt, and no big deal. I get it every night. But this time, something happened, and I felt this feeling of impending doom. And I said, something is wrong. And then I noticed my body was starting to itch, and I couldn't breathe. This is called an allergic reaction, a systemic allergic reaction. And unfortunately, itching is one thing, but it also goes into your lungs and causes spasm. So you suffocate and you die from that. So I'm a little kid, second grade, going, something's really bad going on. And I feel this impending doom. The lights in the room just got darker and darker and darker. And I just thought, okay, the nurses didn't turn the lights off. What's going on? I'm getting this tunnel vision. As I went into that phase, I started to dissociate from my body. And I said, okay, I'm dying. And my body lifted up and rotated. So it's perpendicular to my body. And I looked back at my body, and I could see the shell of my body, and it was struggling. And then I started to levitate, and I went forward, and it was all dark, and I was terrified. And I'm dying, and it was a very uncomfortable feeling. As I started to go from this body, the whole room disappeared, my body disappeared, and I no longer cared. And I felt this warmth, this tremendous warmth that engulfed me. And then as I looked forward, I saw a little pinprick of light, white light. And I started to drift towards it. And as I was drifting, I also felt pulled towards it. It was just, and the closer I got, the bigger it became. The more comfortable I became, and all fear of death left me. And I was left with the most profound peace. I was so content. I said, basically, this is not bad. I didn't know what was going on, but it's very comforting and very reassuring. So I got close to this hole, and I got to look inside, and it's a huge sphere of white light. But at that instant, the nurses realized I was in trouble, and they gave me the antidote to this reaction, and I was immediately slammed back into my body, and I felt like I bounced on the bed, but that was a sensation. And I had oxygen on, and I was starting to breathe again, and I got put back into this body. Now, as a little kid, I thought, oh, it's just a bad dream. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. I never told anybody about this. Just a bad dream. And it was probably 2 years ago. I was talking to an ER doctor, and he's also a mystic. And he said, "Oh, you had a near-death experience." I said, "What's that?" Explained it to me, and he said, "Here's what you have. Some things you can read about." And I said, "Sure enough, that's what that was." And so that's the nutshell version of basically what happened. Is there's the intense fear of dying, which gets replaced almost immediately with this intense love and peace that I'm going home. And I really wished I could have gone into that sphere. I just wanted to go so bad. Um, the body is very limiting in what it does. You just feel like you're going, like, take a big funnel and go shh, and you get, oh, okay, I'm back, um, and you live with that. So that's my story on my first near death experience.
So when you came back, did you have any kind of like feeling of being like stuck into a tiny little body? That's what a lot of people say, that they just feel like they're just being squished.
It's very much like a straitjacket. I mean, it's just wrap you up, mummy up, and you can't move. But
Wow.
I could move. But as a little kid, it was just like, oh, that's weird. It's a dream. And eventually, I just went to sleep. Not a problem. But I paid it no attention until much later, like 2 years ago in my life, that I learned about this. And I said, wow, that was real. So it was an interesting experience. I didn't tell anybody, like I said. But what I got out of this and is I got three gifts. And again, I don't tell people about this stuff because they think you're crazy. But I learned how to connect with that divine light through meditation. So I'm a little kid, and over the next several years, I started to learn, I guess, meditation. And I just sit in the chair, put a blanket on myself in a dark room, and just relax. And I could feel myself float, just a little bit float. And I said, oh, this is a nice feeling. You're liberated from the body. The body's hungry. It wants to sleep. It has to go to the bathroom. It always needs something. But when you float just a couple of inches, you get tremendous peace, and that feeling of constriction is taken away from you. You just feel, oh, I'm finally free of this. So, and in that state, my mind became incredibly quiet, really quiet. My breathing slowed way down, and it was so peaceful. Now, as an adult, since I meditate, I realize that's touching the fringes of God, the peace that passes all understanding. It's just, words don't describe it. Tremendous peace that you feel. So that was my first gift. The second gift is I started to see auras on people's hearts. So I could look at people and see their outline, like both of you, and say, pretty healthy, pretty spiritual, about 3 inches. And I could start to see this. And then I saw three colors. I saw red, which is love. I saw green, which is life. And I saw blue, which is divine creativity. Um, Writers, scholars, musicians have blue in their heart when they're really into it. And so those are three colors. And as I talk to people about this, I say, don't you see the color? It's green on this guy. And they go, no. Well, that one's red. No. So you little kid, you want to fit in. So you stop talking about this. And I talk to mom and dad. They're like, there's something wrong with our kid. I stopped talking. I
You
said,
broke
okay,
it.
And it leaves a profound impression upon me because eventually I became a medical doctor. And if you think you have problems with your parents, try dealing with the medical board. I see colors, don't you? No, we have a name for this illness. It's called schizophrenia. And that kind of ends your medical career. So I kept quiet about all these experiences I was having. I just thought, no, I'm not going to tell anybody. So I saw my colors and I would just smile, but because I didn't use them, they eventually went away for a while. And then the third gift I got was in ninth grade, maybe no, seventh grade. Um, the Moody Blues came out with a song called Floating. Floating among the stars, take a close look at planet Mars. And this thought came to me, I wonder if I can do that. I wonder. So I laid down in my bedroom, put a blanket on, turned off all the lights, and I set my intention that I want to float. I want to feel this. And so at first, because of the meditation, I could levitate a little bit. I started to dissociate from my body and I would float up a little bit. And at about a foot, it's panic. Whoa, let's get back in. With practice and learning to trust, I started to first float around my room. Now, in this state, you're pure consciousness. There's no astral body, there's no human body. You're just a thought. So you don't feel anything. You can hear and see, but you don't feel like hot and cold, and you can go through walls. It's really an amazing event. So then I got my courage. Over the next year, I grew up on a farm in Minnesota, and it was a crop farm. There was a barn and house, all that. And I used to just float around like this. Oh, there's Dad working, and he doesn't know I'm here, but I'm 10 feet above him looking down. And then I'd go over to other parts of the farm and go around. And then I had the thought one day, I wonder how far I can go. And so I have no idea why, but I went to Paris. And okay, this is interesting. And I'm floating 10 feet above, and I'm looking down at the red and white checkers. People are eating tablecloths. People are eating, totally oblivious. And I can hear everything and see everything. And I know it's Paris because I could see the Eiffel Tower. It's like a tourist, it's that real. But I couldn't talk to anybody. And I came back and I told some of my friends, and of course they're like, "Yep, Rod, you're losing it." So I just stopped. I said, "That's enough." And I totally shut down all of those senses all the way into medical school. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of my first near death experience. So I just leave it open if you have any questions.
Had dreams where I have felt like I was floating and flying and projecting, but I really think those were dreams. Anyway, yeah, please continue. I can't wait to hear more.
At least you think they were dreams.
Right.
There's also a thing called lucid dreaming where there's a sleep dream, but there's the lucid dream which you had where you actually did do that and you denied it. He's like, no, that can't be. So anyway, yeah, so I came up with a diagnosis for myself. I said I have divine schizophrenia. And I'm trying to get into the DSM-3 psychiatric book, but they're not accepting it. That's medicine. But I see things and hear things that people don't normally see. And because of that, I can tap into a higher consciousness, if you will, and it guides me and it helps me and it helps save people's lives. So nothing much happened from my childhood all the way up until I got into medical school. I mean, there were important things to deal with. There was school, there was girls, there was work, all of that stuff you have to, take care of. You're a young man. And I was heavily into sports. And what I found is I was a long distance runner, and I would do 5-10 miles in the afternoon and 3 miles in the morning. And on the long runs, they became a running meditation. So I would just dissociate and literally just float and not feel. I said, "Oh, I just did 10 miles. I don't even know it." But my mind got incredibly quiet. And that's the trick to doing all of this stuff. You have to learn to quiet your mind. Now, most people, you can do running meditations. You can go into nature and just become one with everything around you. You take your shoes off and feel the earth, except in Maine where there's snow, you don't do that. But you guys can do that. Go to a park and take your shoes off and feel the trees. Just say, I invite the trees in. And at first you're going to feel really stupid. But you start doing that for a while, you're going to feel the life energy in all things and realize all of that you see is life energy. It has different forms. You're animated, whereas the door frame behind you is not, but it's still life energy. Anyway, I chose meditation, and since I had experiences in childhood, I learned a few things from a gentleman named Swami Rama, who taught a retreat. I spent 2 weeks with him. He taught me about breathing, how to slow your breathing down, and that's very important. What breathing does, is it turns on your sympathetic nervous system, your parasympathetic, and that's the one that puts you to sleep. And the idea is to slow your breathing down to you're not sleeping, you're still awake, but your body's asleep. And it just takes practice. So once you get to that point, so I would lay down later in life and I would do a process called hyperventilating, where you breathe really fast, like that, until my face starts to tingle, and then I'd slow my breathing down. Then I could astral project. Then I could leave. And it's a trick of the body that you can do. And you have to go with intention and not fear that this is my intention. The room's black. I get cold, so I always put a blanket on me. And I lay there and I say, okay, if I can float just an inch, that's all you want to start with, just an inch. And then you get more comfortable and you go higher and higher. So I did that later in life, which we can talk about later if we get the time, or maybe in another session. My ability to see colors came back. I started to see. So, for example, my heart is green, and you two have red, and your auras are about 3 inches, are very clear. So I know you're healthy. I know you're spiritual, and I know that you've got a divine connection. And I also know you're starting to ascend to a higher level of vibration of energy.
That's all we wanted, is just have our auras read. Okay, thanks for watching.
But it's because you're giving love. And David Hawkins wrote about the energy of the universe, the frequency. And Christ energy is about 1,000. So I say we're all born with divine mystic energy, which is what I'm talking about. And the near-death experience brings that out of me. It's an accelerant to bring me to the next level. So it's like playing Monopoly. You get the, instead of go to jail, it says go home. And it's a little play on words, but people are born with 100-watt of energy light bulb. Let's use that analogy. They're born, they get imprints from mom and dad, society, their family lineage, all that gets plopped on you. And it's like this, that's your true life. That's you. That's your divine energy. Then you come into the world and you put a body on and go, oh, that's me. And then life comes along and puts all this stuff on you, right? And you think you're this body. Here's when I was sick. Here's this problem. This is when I was really happy. What happened to your light? And the trick is that what you're learning is to see the light and not the shades. And so I don't look at the appearances of the world anymore. I see through and I say, that's not you. That's not you. That's not you. These are, oh, I had cancer, had a car accident. Oh, I made a lot of money. I don't care. They're lampshades. This is what I look at. I say, oh, aren't you beautiful? This is what I see. I see your bodies, a man and a woman that look separate to me. But when you look deeper and say, I see your light, and that's what I see. That's the gift of when you follow this near-death process and you start to work with it, you see this beautiful light in all things. So this crazy insanity in the United States right now, it's just a movie. And I've learned to detach from that movie because I was able to detach from my body and go to heaven, if you will. So that near-death experience kind of gave me the acceleration to go from 25 watts up to 75. I'm not 100. I'm working on it. I still fall down and make mistakes, but I get back up. So I started seeing colors on people and auras, and the dark auras that I see mean somebody's really sick, depressed, or they're going to die. The darker it gets, the more I know they're going to die. And I had the experience of going to a play with a friend, and I was being flippant, and oh, you see that guy over there? And he says, yeah. He goes, he's got a really black aura. He's going to die in 6 months. And he grabbed my arm. He says, that's my uncle. And I went, oops. He had metastatic prostate cancer and he died 6 months later.
Oh my goodness.
So I said, I'm going to be a little more careful about what I say. So auras change. If he gets healthy, it goes back to white. Heart colors change. You're really tired. The red gets clamped down, but then it comes back. So those are the gifts. The third one was astral travel. And in this one, I started to learn that I could leave my body. And I had a friend named Tracy Posey who helped me. She's a guide. And we did these meditations. And I learned to leave my body. First, I'd travel around the earth and I could see everything. And then I learned to travel through our solar system. And I went into the very heart of the sun and saw the plasma carrying on and the energy it came off. I can't feel this, but I could see it. Then I went through the galaxy into our Milky Way. And then I went beyond the galaxy and I went into a realm called, I call it twilight. It's a layer of purple. It's all purple, which is a divine color. And I came to the edge of the purple, and below me was our galaxy under a pane of glass. So I was able to go through that, and I came to the end, and I looked down, and it was just a waterfall. And I said, if I try to go across this, I'm going to die. On the other side, there was a waterfall of clouds just coming down. And I'm stuck because this is the near-death experience again, but in a different form. And I thought, I want to go beyond this limitation. And I realized this is called the separated mind, where you think you're a woman, you think you're a man. And what you don't realize is that you're both divinity. There's Christ consciousness, God consciousness, Buddha consciousness, whatever you want to call it, between both of you. And if I can go off on a tangent for a minute, it's very interesting. You pick this room, and if you look, you see a lamp behind you, and what's it giving off but light? So it's a symbol that you're connected, that you are in fact divine light. I mean, why did you pick that room, and why is that lamp there? It's just fun. So I'm standing on the edge of this abyss, and I'm thinking, you get this pulling feeling of I want to go. And for me, Christ is my divine brother. He's my divine guide. And he came through that waterfall, put his arms out, and I jumped, and he grabbed me and pulled me. And he pulled me into that sphere that I talked about earlier. And it's the infinity of heaven. And you're nothing but a thought of consciousness. There's no body, there's no time, there's no concepts of anything other than I am love. And you're pulled into that. And I said, "Oh, I'm home." That's where we all are going. We're all taking different pathways home. Some are running, some are using a jet, some are walking, some are whatever. We're all going to that same place. We're all going home. And no one, no matter how evil they are or how good they are, no one is left behind, because the divine wants to be complete in all aspects. So nobody's left behind. So that's a few stories. There's more, but I'll let you talk now.
So I love the idea of being home and feeling that you've arrived at home. I'm curious, did you have any feeling of familiarity? Did you have any feeling that you had been there before?
Oh, I knew I was there before. Like, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like you walk into your house, where you grew up, and you say, "I'm home." It's the same thing. I mean, I grew up here. I know everything. This is a huge, huge sphere of bright light with gold in it. And there's nothing in between. It's like air. Words are so limiting. I'm doing the best I can. But your mind is just so liberated from all these limited human concepts. I mean, we have 1,000,000 words in the human language. And now you're talking about God and infinity. It just doesn't work. I can't say enough words. A simple analogy, let's say you've never tasted an orange, right? And I'm telling you, try this. It's good. It's sweet. And you're going, "Don't know what you're talking about, do you?" And I say, "Trust me." And you do, because I'm a doctor, and people say, "Oh, he's a doctor." Anyway, you take the orange and you take your first bite and go, "Wow, is this good?" So you go from language to experience or knowing. I can't describe knowing, but I can describe, an experience that, I jumped off an airplane with a parachute. It was exciting. I felt the air. Oh, that sounds cool. But until you've done something, you don't really get the full flavor of what I'm talking about. So going back into this sphere is like, I am home. I am peace. And it's a tremendous peace that comes to you. It's like all sound is sucked out of your body. All concerns are gone. And you're going, I am safe. I'm home. I feel tremendous love. In the Bible, it says it's the peace that passes all understanding. Have you ever felt peace like that? You felt peace probably, but this is like beyond description. So, yeah, I did feel like I'd been there before, and this is where I want to go. So, in fact, I had two experiences. Silent Unity is a spiritual retreat center, and I was invited down, and I was invited into Charles Fillmore, who started this in the 1800s, private chapel. And I went into this sphere in his chapel. I said, "Oh, this is so nice." And I wanted to stay. I did not want to come back. I said, "I'm good." But I was a single dad raising two boys and running the emergency department, all this responsibility. And I get the tap in the voice that says, "You have to come back." Okay, fine. So it comes the funnel, just like that. Okay, I'm back doing my job. And then years later, I was at home doing another meditation. And I like, for me, I'll do a 2-hour meditation. And I saw this silver cord floating around. And I said, "Oh, that's what's hooking me to my body. If I can break that cord, I'm out of here." So I wrapped the cord around my phantom arm, and I pulled and pulled and pulled. And I really pulled, and I could actually feel pain in my human arm, and I couldn't break the cord. And the words were, "Not yet." I said,
We've heard
"Okay."
that silver cord before. We've heard that many times that's kind of like the umbilical cord in that realm.
Yeah.
That you saw
Yeah.
that. That's very cool. And how did all the gifts that you have affect your medical career? Were you able to tell people diagnosis and things like that?
I wrote about that in my book, When God Calls, Say Yes. I have had so many mystical experiences. We could talk quite a while. Pick out some good ones. This man came in, and his doctor called me and said, "My patient had colonoscopy yesterday. He fell down. He's dehydrated. Can you take him up with some fluids?" And I said, "Sure." Doesn't sound bad, does it? So he comes in, he's joking, and he's talking with his wife. He lays down. We put a liter of fluids into him. And I set the blood pressure monitor for every minute to go off just because I'm a suspicious cuss. And the pressure went from 70, which is incredibly low, up to 90 to hit 110. And I thought, beautiful. We're going the right way. I want them at 140. Next cycle, 100. Next cycle, 90. Next cycle, 80. Okay, this is not good. And so Christ now talks to me. I get to see him as a red aura in the ER. And so Christ said, "Look in his eyes." So I pull his eyes down, and they're sheet white. They should be pink. That means tremendous blood loss. So where's all this blood going? The guy walks in, no trauma. And Christ said, "Order a stat CT scan, a trauma CT scan." So I did that, and then he yelled, "Run." Now I hear these voices in my head, which is my schizophrenia, and I listen to them. I'm very good at listening. From A Course in Miracles, it says, God speaks to you all day long. The question is, are you listening? You see, and we got all this monkey chatter. I got to get groceries, fix the car, take care of the kids. Yeah, I listen. And so we ran to CT scan, scanned his belly, and I said, "Get him back in the ER." I looked at the CT scan, and the radiologist, he's like, "Oh, there's nothing going on here." I said, "What is all this light gray material? It should be black. Why is it gray?" Now he woke up. He said, "That's blood." And he looked and he said, "This guy's spleen is broken in half." I mean, when that happens, you've got maybe half an hour.
Oh my goodness.
So I ran back to the ER. We got blood going. I called the trauma surgeon, and we took his spleen out and saved his life. So if I had just kept giving him fluids, I was going to, not only is he bleeding, but I'm diluting what little blood he's got, and his heart's just going to stop. So that's one case. I have quite a few. Another fun one that was interesting. A 15-year-old child comes in to the ER, and he was in the playground, 2 o'clock, running, and he just sort of passed out, fell down, got up. No big deal, got up, kept going. But his mom was worried, and she brings him in at 6 o'clock after dinner, of course. And she says, "Is there anything wrong with my son?" And I'm looking at a 15-year-old child that's got abrasions. I said, I don't think so. Well, that's not true. I put my stethoscope on his chest, and Christ said to me, "This child has metabolic syndrome." And that's the syndrome. He said he had a heart attack. That's why he passed out. So order a cardiac enzyme in addition to your labs. Now, to order a heart test on a 15-year-old is like, my nurses are like, Chelberg's lost it. He's, off the deep end. And they were snickering and carrying on. And the other doctors were like, what's with this guy? Anyway, it came back. Normal is less than 0.1. It came back at 3.57. That was the first one. The second one came back at 42.
Oh my gosh.
This is not good. So immediately we start cardiac rescue on this 15-year-old kid. And we're not equipped to deal with children. We're an adult hospital. And we ended up shipping him to Boston's Children's, and he had 95% closure of his left main artery, which is called the widowmaker, and 100% closure. You're done. So they were able to put a stent in this child and look at the rest of his arteries. They were good, but he had a lethal lesion. And because I listened and I heard quite clearly, order this test, and everybody's laughing and thinking I'm crazy until the test comes back and they go, oh dear, this is like serious problem. So we ended up saving his life.
That's amazing.
So there's just a couple of stories. I don't want to take your whole hour of talking.
They're so wonderful.
So I'm very curious did you share any of these insights with your staff? I mean, because they're thinking you're crazy. They realize you had this amazing intuition.
They just said I was a smart doctor.
You never told them you're hearing God talk to you.
No. Are you kidding me? I'm the medical director of the ER, the boss, and he's talking to God, right? You know what we do to people like that? We give them a shot of Haldol, and we take their rights away and send them to the psychiatric hospital. So I don't want to go there, right? So I didn't say anything about any of these experiences for many years. And finally, a friend of mine, John Mundy, Dr. John Mundy, he started the whole Course in Miracles, got the whole thing going. And I met him at a conference. I said, this is what I'm experiencing. He's going, my God, you're having these mystical experiences. You have to write them down. So I said, okay, I trust this guy. So I would write down all of these experiences, and he'd read them. And he said, you have to start talking. So in 2015, I was invited to a spiritual conference, and I'm used to a courtroom where the attorneys are taking a piece out of my hide, or I got to tell a family a loved one has died. Those are not fun times for me. And I'm thinking, Course in Miracles, I don't even know what that is. And I'm supposed to talk to all these people that read this book all the time. They're all scholars. But I started telling them stories like this, which is, you read spiritual literature, it's a stepping stone. But eventually you start to have these experiences of, what was that flash of light? What was that? See, you're starting to grow into the realm of the divine, the astral realm, the fifth dimension, fourth dimension. There's all these dimensions I don't understand. But the fact is, you're growing. It's like, my analogy is, You're a seed that's planted in the earth, and now you're growing through it. And finally, you break through the earth, and you're a stalk at first. Then you get leaves, and then you get a bud, and then finally you open up and say, "I'm a rose." You see, I'm a beautiful rose, and I see the divine light coming into me, and I'm one with that. So it's a growth process, is what it is. And you're given as much as you can handle. So you're not hurled from in the ground into divinity. It's a growth process. People get frustrated with that. And I say, you know what? Be at peace, just relax, and let this growth happen. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. So you're on a path, and you're going to say, why did this book fall off the shelf? And now I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe it, you know? And I know that's happened. You get these insights. You start to hear a twinge. You start to get a feeling. God starts with feelings. You know, you'd hear the people say, I get a gut feeling about this guy. Yeah, he's probably not good for me. You get that. That's the start of your process of waking up. So a near-death experience is kind of like a shortcut, and we cheat. And by the way, if you want a near-death experience, you can come to the ER. I can give you one if you ever want one. Just saying.
Might not come back the same way.
Well, no, I can stop your heart and just wait.
Schedule me.
And
You're concerned about them calling you crazy?
no, I don't care anymore. I really don't.
You're retired now.
Yeah, they can't hurt me. So this one man came in, trauma patient, and car crash. His right foot was 90 degrees to his leg, sideways.
Wow.
And he's really having a rough time. I x-rayed his foot, and it wasn't broken. And I said, so I gave him some medicine to make him comfortable, and then I reduced it, which means I pushed it back into place, which really hurts. So I gave him medicine, and I got it all back in perfect alignment. And he says, "Okay, doc." He said, "What's my grade?" And I said, "I'll give you a B." He said, "A B?" He said, "That should be an A." I said, "Well, it wasn't broken. There was no bone protruding. There was no laceration. It's, kind of a B." And he got mad at me. And I said, "Well, okay, go for a drive, crash another car. If I see blood, bone, or, maybe I'll give you an A." He said, "No, I'm good. I just want to go home." I said, "Okay." So I like to tease. A man came in with chest pain, and he was just holding his heart area, just going, "God, this hurts." And he was sweating. He had all the classic symptoms, and they rushed him in. And so I just introduced myself, and we do a stat heart tracing. So I did that, and it's completely normal. And so I look at this tracing. I'm sitting here with like this, right? And I say, "Christ, what do you think of it?" And I literally went like he was right there. And he says, "Oh, that looks normal to me." He's got a nutcracker esophagus. In other words, the tube that connects the mouth to the stomach was just crushed in spasm, and it's right behind the heart. So you can't tell the difference. So the guy asked me, "Doc, how does that heart tracing look?" And I almost said, "Give me a second, I'm talking to Christ." I almost said that. And I thought, don't do that. It'll freak the guy out big time, then he will have a heart attack. So I said, "It's perfectly fine." And Christ said, "Give him a GI cocktail, which is 3 medicines to relieve the spasm." I gave him that. His pain was immediately relieved. I did a modified stress test. I said, "Your heart's fine. You've got acid indigestion and you burned your esophagus. Here's some medicine. You're all set." But that was the closest I came. But I never told my colleagues, patients. I never did.
I've heard acid reflux sometimes gets confused for heart attacks or things like that, because it could. So it's similar to acid reflux. What you're saying?
It goes up, and it can give you allergy symptoms. It can give you asthma, depending on how high it goes. So if the acid gets into your lungs, then you get the diagnosis of asthma, and it's like, okay, but the problem's in the stomach. Neutralize the acid, the asthma goes away. So you got to think about things. So anyway, those are just a few stories of what I've experienced.
They're fascinating. I love hearing them.
Thank you.
Just imagine if I was an aspiring doctor and I had heard about these incidents and how you made some different choices that saved lives, I would be super curious. I'd be trying to tap into what's going on. So I'm kind of surprised there was nobody like, hey, can I talk to you? I want to hear more about this. Like, what's going on? How can I achieve these type of results?
The this pathway for all of us is a sacred mission, and it's a quiet mission. If you talk to a lot of people, especially skeptics, you're going to dilute your energy, and you're going to lose your focus, and then the gossip starts, and you don't want to do that. If people listening to this, if you find somebody that understands you, I mean, you two can talk to each other. Go talk to a lady in the grocery store about this. It's not going to go well. You know, somebody who has beliefs in fundamental Christianity, you're Satan, you're possessed. Society does not do well with this because we're not used to it. If I was in India, they go, oh, yeah, we had one of those the other day, and here's what our experience was. Different cultures. So I would caution you, keep it quiet until you can trust and you know the person is on the same page. In the medical field, we have difficulties dealing with death, abnormal. We're just now starting to understand and do research on near-death experiences and energy fields. They're just starting to say that there's more to this than meets the eye. You know, this guy's had a patient of mine he's 90. He's had lung cancer for 40 years. Lung cancer. Usually that's a death sentence. You've got 6 months to a year to live. That's it. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? He says, I don't pay it any attention. I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. It's there, but I don't give it any energy. So you want to be careful. Where do you put your energy? And how do you learn to heal yourself? How do you learn to get to higher and higher levels? And the near-death experience is one way. Meditation is another very common way to do the same thing. It just takes a little longer.
So mind over matter, and don't give the negative any attention. And fighting skeptics is just a waste of time. Don't even bother. Those are the kind of lessons I'm getting from this. Yeah, the last few minutes. Yeah, I get it. It doesn't help anything to try to talk sense into someone else who doesn't believe the same as you.
It's no different than politics.
It's very spiritual. We're close to God. They think it's opposite of what they believe, even though we think it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's no different than sports. If you're not a Patriots fan, there's something wrong with you. You know, Tom Brady's the hero, right? He's my man. Politics. You're a Democrat, Republican, we fight and we dig our heels in and we don't care about the data. We want to fight. You see, so what's the point? God is peace, love, and joy. Which would you rather have, the peace of the divine, or do you want to be right in a political debate? I don't know about you, but I could care less. I just trust. I want the peace of God. And for the most part, I have that. I fall down, make my mistakes, and I let go of that, and I return to peace, and I just stay at peace. And when you have peace, that you're surrounded by this shield of light, and then peace goes before you. That's called grace. And everything, that crooked road they talk about, just gets nice and straight. I like the straight road. I don't like the crooked road. So I walk, as they say in the Course, it says, I walk with God in perfect holiness, perfect oneness. And that's going beyond the near death experience, but that's where you're going. That's where you're going. So
It does seem that there is gradually more people aware of that there's more to this than what we have here on Earth and what we have in this human life. And you even mentioned that there's starting to be studies on near-death experiences. So have you been able to find some friendship or consultation with others in the medical field who have also had some sort of enlightening experience where you're able to, because it sounds like for most of your career you have had to keep all of this inside and not be able to share this. I would like to think that at some point you were able to find some people that you were able to share the combination of, I have all this medical experience and I have this enlightened experience, and talk about it and to relate about that.
I would say I'm coming out of the closet. I have met one ER doctor, Jeff Driscoll, who has had some of these experiences, but he's very busy. He's working, and at least I think he's working. Maybe he's retired. I don't know. That's been the only medical doctor. I've met a lot of PhDs that don't have all those. It's really pushed on to you that you're the boss. And anyway, we don't talk about this stuff. I have met several PhDs that I can talk to openly, and I've given seminars on this. And then I talk to other people. I don't care about the degree. I care about the amount of light you have. You see, if your light's dark, then I want to light you up. I want you to help see your new perspective. You're not a body. The body, to me, here goes the medical profession. I'm like an automobile mechanic. I mean, your lungs are like your carburetor, your heart's like your engine. Your brain is whatever. When you die, you step out of the car. You're still alive. The car is dead. That's a big jump, you know? So I'm more concerned about how spiritual you are. I have not met many doctors other than this one to talk about this with. So, but it's coming. That it's a big change for the medical profession to realize there's alternatives to healthcare, like acupuncture, chiropractic, naturopathic. It's like, that doesn't work. So
I'm just imagining that it would probably feel very therapeutic, I guess, to be able to share your experiences and your insights, and to not just to us, but to people that can relate with that type of medical career. So I'm hoping that you're able to find more people to kind of really talk shop with, but talk shop at a new level.
Yes.
I had one ER doctor in Boston come to one of my lectures, and she says, I can't believe, she said, you're talking about what I'm experiencing. And she's like, I thought I was going crazy. And I said, you're not, you're growing. And now she's turned into a very spiritual person. And she was like a couple years ago, got a 15-year-old kid that had some mild, and she went, "Oh God, I'm so busy, and I got this kid. He's not even hurt." And as she walked out of the room, the voice said, "Remember Rod Chelberg's story?" It stopped her, and she goes, "What was that?" So she started to keep going, and then again, it's 2 feet. Remember Rod Chelberg's story. So she goes back and orders a cardiac enzyme on the kid,
Oh my goodness.
15-year-old kid. And there's 3 ER doctors, and they're all giving her crap. And it came back at 10. And I went, "How did you know that?" And she just said, "Thank you, Rod."
Same
Oh,
exact story as yours. Same exact
Yeah.
situation.
gives,
Yeah.
Wow.
gives me chills. I love
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you sharing your experience
Yeah.
saved a life, probably, and most likely.
Oh, it
At
did.
least that person, and who knows how many more. So
Mhm.
not just in your presentations, but also your book. I would love to hear more about your book and what is in your book. And I'm sure that's probably touched so many people that you may not even be aware of how much of a difference you're actually making, which is
Mhm.
super enlightening.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm
Well,
guessing people approach you for diagnosis and for healing, I guess, or do people come ask you if you could tell them what's wrong with them?
what they do, they do. And I listen, and then I get guidance on that. I can't heal anybody, but I can channel love to you, divine love, and I can teach you why is it that you have this problem. And we drill down into your unconscious mind, and you go, "Oh, that I had an upset with my mom or dad or whatever. That became a block to energy and love's presence." And it gets stuck, and then eventually it manifests as disease.
Ooh.
So it's like, yeah, okay, you got a heart problem. Oh, your kidneys are shutting down. You got a colon problem. Tell me about mom. Tell me about dad. And I don't care about all the details. I really don't. Just, did you have a serious problem? Yes. That has been unresolved and is now manifesting as illness. I'm thinking about a divorce and I'm having all this chest pain. Oh, I got breast cancer. Tell me about your relationship with your husband. Well, he's thinking of leaving me, but now he's going to stay to help me with this. You see, it's just, but I get this intuition. And so I help people, at least point them in the right direction. And a lot of people just want a one time visit, get pointed in the right direction. Um, and it helps them. So if if they really want to be helped, if some people have what's called secondary gain, I like being taken care of. I like everybody, the wheelchair, and I like, okay, that's resistance. You don't want to get well. Have a nice life. I
Interesting.
send I send them with a blessing of love and peace. So that I can do. What's really going on, and what are the motives, and what's the real resistance?
Yes.
So
And do they really want true healing, or do they want some TLC? That's what it sounds like.
Interesting.
well, a lot of people, when I was in practice a long time ago, would come in chronic back pain and they'd be on disability, and I'd have to recertify them. And you do all these measurements and all that stuff, and they go home, they sit and watch TV all day, they're content, their bills are paid, they get food, they don't want to do anything, they're just content. And it's like, don't you want to get out and do something? It's like, nope, everybody's taking care of me. It's like, so what's the underlying motive? You got to think about that. At least I do. Um, anyway, but that's kind of getting off on another area of medicine, but it's there. So,
So I'm guessing sometimes when you talk about the problems that cause the issue, then they resolve it on their own. So in a way, they heal themselves because they discover the issue was some trauma caused by some past relationship caused this to happen. So once they
Yes.
resolve that feeling, then they heal themselves.
So exactly. You have your heart, and that to me is the symbol of God. And what is your heart doing? Right? And that to me is God knocking at your door, saying, open the door and let me in. So if you imagine, here's your heart, and here's a problem that you had. You're not letting God out. You've got him locked in a prison cage. So I explained this to you, how you can heal, things that you can read. I have my little, my little props that I use. I got a whole pile of props.
I like the
But
props.
I get you to say, I'm going to release the divine that's within my heart like that and open it up. So we do that through forgiveness, understanding, having compassion, and then people heal. They go, oh, I'm doing this to myself, and I need to learn to release. So I tell people it's real simple. There's 3 words. First, you accept this problem. You learn to just look at it and say, okay, it's cancer. It has no power over me. I can choose peace instead of this. Second is you learn to rest. I'm not going to give this any more energy, fear. It's also helpful not to tell anybody except immediate family, because everybody's got their own story they want to add to yours, which means more weight for you to carry. So you learn to rest and just be at peace. And then the third is to release. I release all of my beliefs and concepts. If I need chemotherapy, I see that as a form of God's love coming to heal me. I don't see it as chemo. I see it as something joyful. I used to run a breast cancer clinic many, many years ago, and we always made it a party. It's just like balloons and flowers and whatnot, and said, this cancer has no power over me. We're going to heal, and we're going to do fine. And it was fun, you know. Anyway, a lot of those women did very well because they changed their attitude from I'm a victim to I have power over this illness and I can cure myself. There's a thought, you know.
It's all about perspective.
It is. It is. And so the perspective changes when you invite the divine in to help you. If you try to do it by yourself, you got a 50-50 chance, right? But if you say, Father, the best meditation is I and my Father are one. Just put your hands on your heart and just 30 seconds. I and my Father are one. And start to feel that love energy. And that love overcomes the darkness, which is the cancer, and you heal. Doesn't matter if it's relationship, financial, health, doesn't matter what the problems is. They're all darkness. And you want to bring light to darkness. And I guarantee you, you heal. You have to heal.
We interview a lot of people, and a lot of times the messages are somewhat the same. There's a lot of the same threads, but I think it's even more powerful when we have someone with your background and your experience showing up and saying, here's what it's really about. and that's powerful. You've explored all options for how to be healthy and how to take care of ourselves. And this is what it comes down to.
And it's simple. Here's the simplest analogy I can give you. You go upstairs, it's late at night, you're tired, you go into your bedroom, right? It's dark, right? And what's the first thing you do? You go find the light switch and you turn it on. and go, oh, now I can see. So there's your cancer, there's your financial problems, your relationship. Doesn't matter what it is. I turn on the light switch and they're all gone. That's as simple as I can make it.
I love it.
So, if our viewers are interested in hearing more of your stories, learning more about you, how should they go about doing that?
I have a website, drrodchelberg.com, and there's stories in there, there's information about me. And if you want to talk to me, you can schedule an appointment. And I like talking to people. We do a session, I do a recording, and then I give you homework, things to read, things to practice that will help you to get on the track.
Mm-hmm.
People come to me and say, I've got cancer. Can you cure me? I can't do that. That's not my job. My job is to open up your mind so that this divine light that's there can get in, and then you can heal. So, but it's drrodchelberg.com. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but I did write a book. It's When God Calls, Say Yes.
I love that.
A physician's experience of mystical guidance. And I will tell you, I like this book, but there were parts I did not like. So I took them out and I rewrote it. And it's at the publishers right now.
Oh, nice.
So if this is good, the one I wrote is 10 times better because I went into great detail on how you can do this yourself. You know, it's When God Calls, Say Yes. And it says the physician's experience of mystical guidance and growth. Because I want you to understand it's a growing process. So it starts off, like I said, the seed in the earth, and then it blossoms into a rose. And this particular picture is a rose. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
But in this world, Christ's color is red. I had a woman talk to me. She had 4 stillbirths and said, where are my children? I want my children. I said, they're right here with you, and they're with God. And Christ said, I will give you a rose as a symbol of my love for you, and I will take your pain. And for just a minute, she got to see her children. And she goes, they're right here. And she was fulfilled. And I said, you have a syndrome called anticardiolipin syndrome. You'll never have children. You have a design defect built into you. Won't happen. So adopt. But she got to see the kids.
That's so nice.
And then felt that warmth of love. So that's why I chose the rose for the cover.
You said different colors mean different things. You said we were red. So what does red mean?
Red is love, that you extend a lot of love to people. Green is healing. Blue is creativity. So when you get really tired, the light will go out. Mm-hmm. You're just tired. You know, if you decide to go down and draw a painting or play the piano, your heart will change to blue. You see, but what it tells me is you're divinely connected. You're at a higher energy level than the majority of people. So majority of people are at 25 watts and we're all ascending. So people who are listening to this program are at 50 watts, 75 watts, or even higher. I don't know, but they're clearly higher. So that's a good thing. And this is kind of a booster shot to say, go higher. So I like to say with people when I'm in conclusion, you're a hot air balloon. You're a beautiful hot air balloon. And now you're taking off. You're turning up the heat. And the balloon's starting to ascend nice and gentle. And you say, I've got these 4 ropes holding me to the ground. And they're past issues. There's a reason for it. But you're learning to cut the ropes. And the balloon ascends. And then you say, I've got these sandbags of old trauma. I don't need to keep carrying this weight, do I? So I'm going to ask the divine, help me, because you need the help of the divine's guidance. cut that one, the balloon accelerates, cut that one. You see, and eventually you're floating up in a very high sphere. The Course in Miracles says this earth is a battleground, it's a slaughterhouse. Kind of looks that way to me. You're going to learn to float higher and higher, and you look down at this and you say, I choose to be a blessing now to this earth. I like to meditate in the evenings and bless the earth and bless the people. So that's what you're going to start doing. You can't help it, this love. You're just going to want to share it more and more. And you're doing that with your podcast, reaching all these people, and they're going to go, I can do this. You see, it's just amazing how it works. So I am very thankful because I don't know how to do a podcast. I can write a book and I can do a few interviews, but you're reaching a lot more people.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe in time to do that, but right now it's not in the cards.
Just have a high-tech brother like me. He comes in handy for many reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Our podcast wouldn't be anything if it weren't for people like you, Rod. So I really appreciate you sharing your amazing story and all of your insights. It's really wonderful to be able to meet with you and to hear all of this firsthand.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just relax, let go, and just surrender and turn on the light switch. It's so simple and it's so hard because the ego puts up so much resistance. And you go, okay, that's all right. You'll get there.
It's another common word. Everyone says surrender. In almost every interview, they've always said surrender. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The corollary is stop thinking. If you're thinking, you're using your ego mind. The Rene Descartes, the philosopher back in the 1500s, separated mind and body and spirit because he wanted to study human anatomy, and that was a no-no with the church. Anyway, he separated it. So he said, I think, therefore I am. Okay, so that's ego, human ego, mass consciousness. And what does God say? I am. He's not thinking, he just is. So you want to get into I am. Stop thinking. That's why you do meditation. That's why you do I and my Father are one. It stops the insanity. And then it gets easier and easier, to step back and go, I choose peace instead of this. I choose love, and let God handle it. Why are you working so hard? You know?
I loved it. And I agree. As you just mentioned, this is basically the message that we keep hearing. We have a tendency to overcomplicate things. We have a tendency to pile more challenges on top of other challenges. And it sounds like it's the letting go and cutting those sandbags that is going to make the difference.
And you said don't work so hard. Like that's another common thing. Almost like you're playing here. You're just enjoying life, playing more. Think of it as a game.
Yeah. You just, we get so caught up in houses and careers and all of that. And I say that's all part of Madison Avenue. It's not part of God. God just says, I will provide you. In the Bible, it says, seek ye first the kingdom, and everything else shall be added unto you. Everything is a form, money, health, cars, they're all forms of God. And we think we're separate from them. We have to struggle to get them. And God says, no, just relax and I will bring them to you. That medicine, that's a form of God loving you because you think you've got an illness and you need a bridge to get better. Then eventually you don't need any medicine because you don't get sick. It's really fun on this journey. And you just learn to relax, observe, and just be at peace. It's a nice way to live. I didn't tell you that I've had 3 cancers and a stroke.
Wow.
Yep. I had colon cancer, testicular, and kidney. in all cancers, they're fatal. And the doctors are telling me this, and I said, I don't agree with that diagnosis. I'm going to be fine. And I had the cancers cut out. I still do common sense. I mean, you got a time bomb sitting there. But all three cancers, because I did not believe them to be real, I did not believe they could hurt me. My belief is God is the only power in this universe, and these cancers have no power unless I give them power. And so I don't do that. And I say, I'm going to release what I was telling you earlier. I'm going to release light and love into me. And then I say, thank you, gratitude, as the close of the prayer to everybody. And they all go, wow. I mean, that's so unusual. So they open up. So I had surgery. Then they recommended chemo and all this nonsense. I said, no, I'm good. And that was 2002 and 2014. And then I had a massive stroke in 2016, and that took out my right side. I couldn't speak. I couldn't see out of this eye. And that's what I was going to say. I had a shared death experience because they gave me the clot busting medicine when they shouldn't have. So I had an internal bleeding ulcer, and you die if you give somebody TPA and you got a bleeding ulcer, you remove the blood clots and they literally die. So when that's happened to me, people die within 10 minutes. So and I can't talk. And the ER doctor did not do an appropriate exam, and my labs were completely abnormal. And he was so excited. He said, let's give him TPA.
Oh no. You knew it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. So I said, okay, there's nothing I can do. So I sat there, and then after 2 minutes, the whole ER turned into scintillating white light. And I could see everybody, that we're all one. There was flecks of gold, and I just felt tremendous peace come over me. And I thought, oh, if this is what it's like to die, this is not so bad. This is really quite comfortable. And yet this voice comes in and says, you are healed. You will walk out of this hospital tomorrow. Now, I'm talking, I can't move my arm, can't feel it. But the next day, I walked out. I set my intention. I am healed. And I walked out. And they were like, you can't do that. It's not possible. It's usually a week, 10 days. I said, I'm good. Leave me alone. But when you learn to trust that love that's in you and release it, you get tremendous healing. You see, and there's no reason you can't heal from this. And you say, I'm gonna align my thinking with the divine, and the divine is healthy. Why are you sick when you are in fact one with God? I said the prayer, I and my Father are one. You're not sick. Why are you sick? It's because you've accepted the belief that you're a body, that you're separate from God, and you're sick. You go, whoops, my bad. I made a mistake. Then you reconnect with God and say, I'm just going to relax and be at peace. And I'm not going to worry about it, because the bedroom, I go in, I turn on the light, it's gone.
Love it. Very enlightening.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Hope to have you on our show in the future.
Yeah. Well, you just let me know. I'm around. But the book, it just went to the publisher. So there's a new edition that's so much better. It'll be on Amazon. It's not very much, but I guarantee you've never read a book like this.
I can't wait. I'm going to have to get it.
It's currently available, or it'll be coming soon?
This is the old edition.
Right.
And I didn't like it. So I took out 2 chapters and added 2 new chapters. And then I tightened it up, and added a few more stories, made a few more points. It's much better. It's much better. I just went to the publisher.
If the viewers go to your website, they'll be able to get an update or learn when that is available.
You can read the old one. It's good. It has a lot of stories and guidance. The new one's even better.
Fantastic. So we'll make sure to put a link to your website in the notes.
Oh, thank you.
People can find the information there to learn more about Rod and all of his amazing experience and about the new version of his book.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Rod.
You guys take care. I bless you. Take care.
Thank you. Bless you. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.